Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome to Arduino EDUvision live episode number 7.
Already 7.
Yes.
Man, time flies.
Yeah, only a
I
few
can't
episodes
believe.
left.
Yeah, exactly. It's super fast.
Yes.
Hello,
I'm
everyone.
Melissa, and I have here with me.
Roxana, hello. How are you? How
Yes.
guys are doing? How's everything going?
Yes. How are you? If you want to let us know, you can use the chat. So today we have 3 platforms. We're streaming this on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And we can try this thing. So hit the thumbs up button if you're watching this from YouTube. If you're watching this from Facebook, at the heart. And then from LinkedIn, you can have the light bulb. So we can see where people are joining.
Yeah, let us know who you are.
Yeah,
where you're
we can
from.
already see there's a lot of people joining and using the chat. So you can also use the chat on all these 3 platforms.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yeah, but tell us where you're from, too.
Yes.
Yeah, because we
like
want
Manel.
to. Yeah, exactly. So let us know where you're from. India, exactly like that. We're super happy to have you today. Thank you for joining. And today we're getting scientific, and we also celebrate Children's Day with fun activities that you can do at home or also at school.
Yes.
France, India,
Nice.
Nepal. Nepal, Colombia.
Thank you. And
Montreal.
we'll also be looking in more detail at the Arduino Science Journal app. So we showed it in the previous episode, but if you don't have it yet, now is your time to download the app. You can find the link from arduino.cc/education/science journal.
Yeah, super easy.
Get it now. It's free. You don't have to sign in. So you can also try today's activity with us.
Exactly. So besides that, we are not only having one, but 2 special guests. We'll be joined by Alison Green, like she's a science teacher from the UK, and Engin Bumbacher, a professor at the Teacher University Vaud in Switzerland.
Yes.
So would be great.
Yes, we're going to have great discussion with both of them. So be ready also, if you have any questions for our guest, you can use the chat. And last episode, our guest was Mikaela Yamashita, an experienced development specialist from the Tech Interactive Museum from San Jose, California. And we tried one of the activities they have designed to do at home using the Arduino Science Journal app. That was the gyroscope dancing. We
dance.
Yes. So you can also try it if you haven't seen the episode.
And also this week, we have published 7 new activities on the Arduino Science Journal site, exactly that one, in partnership exactly with the Tech Interactive Museum in the US, and 2 educators who share their content with us. So more about the Science Journal, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, and you can find, for example, the gyroscope dancing and the ninja walk that we talked about from here too.
Yeah, you can access that platform also. It's open, so you just go to the link and watch take a look at the activities there.
Yeah, whoever can try them, and you only need the app to do some of the activities. Yes, and we also demonstrated a project that utilizes the Arduino Nano 33 BLE Sense board and the gesture sensor in the board to control a LED circuit. And we had some examples to run edge computing applications using tiny machine learning with the Nano board. And you can find the tutorial from our site.
Exactly. Also, if you missed the episode, remember that you can watch it on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So,
yeah,
no worries.
And then, of course, we had a project from you guys. So one of you, Anibot from India, shared their project through our EDUvision site or from the blog post where you can find all the instructions. It was the light control project using the ultrasonic sensor and Arduino Nano board. And if you want to share your Arduino project, you can do it going to our site, arduino.cc/education/eduvision, and you find all the instructions from there. And you might get your project presented here, but you also might get some Arduino education goodies. We're going to have one project today too, so stay tuned. Maybe it's yours.
Exactly. So we have many things today, so why just we don't start bringing our first guest? So
Yes, I can introduce our first guest. So we're going to start with Alison Green. She's a science teacher specializing in chemistry, who uses her experience of working in the chemical and pharmaceutical industries to add context to her fun science lessons for both students and teachers. And she's currently teaching part-time while studying for her master's degree in online and distance education. And Alison has a particular interest in how educational technology can support practical science skills and the understanding of abstract concepts. Welcome, Alison. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hi, nice to meet you all.
How are you? Thank you for joining today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Alison.
And everybody give thumbs up for Alison.
Welcome, Alison, everyone.
Yes. And remember, if you have any questions or comments, you can add them through the chat.
Exactly. So as Melissa was saying, Alison has a very interesting background in science, and then you work in the chemical and the pharmaceutical industries. So what made you becoming a teacher? How was that?
Well, in the company that I worked at, we used to have quite a bit of outreach. So we used to get some students coming in to visit. We used to make medicines and develop them, had a big pilot plant. So though they couldn't come in, they used to come in and sort of see from the outside view what was going on. We used to teach them a little bit about it. And then when I started my own family a little while ago, I thought, do you know what? I really enjoy doing that. So it's a good time to sort of move into that. And I really enjoy just passing on my passion for science. I always knew at school I was going to carry on doing something about science. So it just seemed an ideal way just to, get students excited about science and carrying on, sort of passing that on.
Nice.
So,
yeah. And you've been using different tools, but also Arduino products to do on your science classes. So tell us a little bit about your relationship with Arduino products. Do you use currently many of them, or?
Because at the minute I'm mostly just teaching chemistry, so I don't really get a chance to use a lot of them. And I really just got into the Science Journal to help sort of solve some of the practical experiment issues I've been having during the pandemic, and sort of to link into my master's project I was doing. So I kind of saw it as, at the time, the students weren't coming to the science labs. They were all in different locations around the school. So they didn't have much equipment with them, or I had to traipse it across the school. And also we're having to quarantine equipment between different classes. So doing experiments was getting really quite hard, and teaching science without doing practical work is not the most exciting. And then sort of to add to the challenge, as I was running my project at the start of this year, we went back into full lockdown in the UK. So they were all at home. So I had to kind of change my original projects I want to develop so they could do them at home using whatever, as a small amount of equipment as possible, which is kind of what I've developed. Was basically a kind of biology project was my first one, because it didn't need any additional equipment. So everybody at home, majority of my students had access to a smartphone, so they can download the Science Journal app and they could carry out some investigations whilst at home. And I thought it'll be a really good way to introduce them to the Science Journal with a nice, simple activity. So when we came back to school, so we can carry on building with that, because they already know how it works. And then we can sort of do more things and get them to think about how they can use the Science Journal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting, using simple tools that everyone can have, and just try different things like science. Like maybe you don't think that you can use your phone and learn science in a fun way. So it's very interesting using this kind of tools, and that you design these activities.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of negative press about students having access to phones, and I kind of want to bring it the other way. Well, sometimes actually maybe the benefits outweigh, the negative disruption elements from it, and maybe we need to sort of work, find a compromise in schools and outside schools where students know when to use phones appropriately, which I know not all situations it's possible, but I think the benefits are starting to outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So are you working on any particular projects at the moment?
I'm a bit on hold at the minute because it's been a bit manic this year. So I've still got my website up. So I've got one activity that I've developed and shared, which we're going to, I think, look like in a bit bit later.
Mhm.
And I've got some more sort of in progress that I started drafting. But I like, as I said, I like to put context into them. So I'm kind of still working on those and the context surrounding the investigation. Why do scientists do this kind of thing? I like incorporating into the activity. So they're still all kind of quite drafts at the minute. But I've got one I'm kind of investigating around sound. And as chemistry is my specialism, I'm kind of wanting to look at different ways that we can investigate rates of chemical reactions and things that they can be done at home as well as at school. So when I get a minute, I'm hoping to get those worked on and trial them out at school this sort of rest of the school term, and then get them published and on the website.
Nice. You have also an interesting research project about how to use the Arduino Science Journal to get the heartbeat trace to investigate factors that can change heart rate. Can you tell us some more about it? And we can also try this at home.
Yeah, so as I was already saying, the second lockdown in the UK kind of messed my project up a little bit. So this project was something that I think most science teachers do in secondary schools, which is measure some sort of heart rate. And I kind of wanted to use the Science Journal because I think it adds an extra element, because you can actually see a graph of your heart rate. So it's a little bit like the ECG electrocardiograms that you get in hospitals. So the peaks representing the heartbeat, and then they can apply some numerical skills as well. So they're actually using their own graphs and interpreting their graph to their heart rate. So it's quite a simple activity to do. So shall I go through it?
Yeah. So everybody open your Science Journal app.
Right. Yeah. I'll just get mine. So if you've got your Science Journal open, the easiest thing to do is just click on plus for a new experiment. So you can give it a title at the top if you want to. So I'm just going to type. Oh, they won't let me type now. Put it there. And then if you got it in. Ah, brilliant. Yeah. And then if you click on sensors at the bottom, I think it automatically brings up light first. So we're not really interested in light, but if you click add sensor again, you will get sound intensity. So should have got.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the easiest way I found to explain to students to get this up. So it's going to be a bit tricky doing this while we're live, because it's going to pick up every sound, but I can go you through it, and you might want to do this a bit later afterwards when we're off the call, and you can find a quiet place. So the basic thing first is to find the pulse. And this is where quite often students find this difficult. And I've got to admit, I think when I first started trying to find a pulse, I found that difficult. So the easiest thing, I'm trying to find the camera. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So is to go for by your thumb, the top of your wrist. So let me get into the camera again and press down. I'll be finding out.
Yeah, I can feel something.
Yeah. So the key thing now is, we need to record to get our graph. So on our Science Journal, if we hit record, so it doesn't matter, it's going to start recording. I'm going to find my pulse again. Lost it. There we go. That's all right, I'm still alive. All right, so every time you feel a beat, you just say now, or if it's going really fast, it might be a bit difficult, so you can just say N. So I don't know if we'll see much on this, but I will just simply go now, 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 now. So it gets a bit of getting used to that, but so it takes a bit of practice. And once you sort of get into rhythm, it gets easier. So I can't see mine very well because I've been talking over it, but you'll get the peaks and some patterns. Yeah.
This is the one I tried before.
Yeah. Got some I tried earlier. Actually, I've probably got one I've got on here actually. So if I hit stop, let me find.
Yeah, I can. At the same time, there's someone asking which app. So you can find it Arduino Science Journal app. You can find it from the Apple Store and Google Store.
So I've got one I did. Let me get that on there. I've got the light behind me, which is not helping. So you can see there. So you need to do at least 20 seconds, and you can get some nice beeps. And then what you can do is you can zoom in. So you want to find probably about 20 seconds where you've got quite regular beats. So I've just zoomed in there. So, trying to zoom in. There we go, much better. So you can see there, you can see them. So you can then count how many peaks you've got,
Okay.
and then over 20 seconds, times that by 3, and you will get your heartbeat per minute,
Okay.
which is your heart rate. And
Very
then,
easy.
yeah, so that's nice and easy to do. Like I say, you do need to kind of go somewhere quiet so you can actually see the peaks that are being made. And it doesn't matter if you get interrupted, because you can just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And there's loads of things once you've got your base heart rate that you can do. So I got my students, because they were at home, easiest thing was doing different sorts of activities. So, you know, jogging on the spot for a minute, running. I've even got them to try and slow their heart rate down. So sort of relaxing and taking in a couple of, you know, some deep breaths for a minute and seeing, can they get the heart rate to go down? And then there's some other classics as well. So you can take, you know, caffeinated drinks and you know, different types of food. Does sugar have an impact? Or I've known for like scary movies, or does it change during the day? So there's so many different things. So you can then have a, you know, investigate to see what's affecting their heart rate, or maybe at the minute, are they quite stressed about their exams, or are they quite relaxed? So how are things going? So it's
Yeah,
a bit
I think
fun.
that's a great idea also, like during a school day to track a bit your heart rate, like if you feel stressed or that kind of, so it can be a nice exercise in that. So
Yeah, it's a very good way to be aware
yeah.
of how do you feel, because sometimes we don't are aware of that. We just feel stress or something, but we don't take a minute and think and feel how are we doing. So I think this helps you to be aware and have a journal and maybe identify what are the activities of the things that make you stress.
Yeah.
So I think it's very cool and very useful.
Yeah, and it allows
Easy.
students to work with crafts and also with the data that they have collected themselves, which I think is really cool.
And they will learn how to interpret, like, and read graphs, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so sometimes as well, I've got them maybe, you know, compare it to if they've timed over a minute, compare their, you know, they've only done 20 seconds. Does it relate the same as if they've done it for, you know, 60 seconds? Do they get the same result? Or if they only did 10 seconds, is that too long sort of to sample to work out, to stretch to a minute? So there's quite a lot of mathematical skills here, which I think adds to it from the traditional experiment where teachers, you know, are just measuring it, or nowadays just getting, you know, the smart watches that automatically measure heart rate. I think actually interpreting the graphs, the important bit that they get from this,
Cool.
which is a really important skill.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alison, for joining us today and sharing all this.
Thank you so much. It was really like super simple, but super fun and super useful. So thank you so much.
That's great. Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
for
me.
sharing. Yes, thank you, Alison.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
See you soon.
And if you want to read more about Alison's work, you can go to our EDUvision site and you find an article called Bringing Chemistry to the Classroom. Science teacher Alison Green is invested in educational technology.
Exactly. So before talking with our second special guest, let's take a look at the project one of you submitted, guys. So let's watch the video.
Hello everyone, my name is Ahmed Sebaa, aka SBS, and this is my project. So my project is just an Arduino Uno connected to an 8x8 LED matrix without using any shift registers. The interesting part about it is the software, since most of the work went into it. The software is just a web interface that allows to create and design shapes that can be displayed by the LED matrix. Not just that, it also allows to create animations by designing them frame by frame using a combination of useful tools that are included in the web interface, which was built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm working on another version of this project that will allow users to control the 8x8 LED matrix remotely via Wi-Fi and Bluetooth in real time with some extra features. Thank you, EDUvision.
Thank you, Ahmed. That was really cool.
From Algeria. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was really cool project and a really cool video. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this now, Ahmed, we will send you some Arduino education goodies after the episode.
Yeah. Don't submit your projects, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we can take a look at today's Edu Spotlight, and it's going to tell us more about the Science Journal.
Did you know that with Arduino Science Journal app, you can become a real-life scientist in an instant? Do you ever wonder about the world, try to understand it? Have you ever wanted to know your speed when you bike into school, or how much light reaches your favorite reading place? Make your phone your tool to understand the forces of the world. With the app, you can measure light, sound, motion, magnetism, and much more. If you don't know what experiments to try out, you can take a look at the Arduino Science Journal activities, which you easily find in the app's navigation menu. Adding external sensor to your app, such as the Arduino Nano 33 BLE Sense, let you discover even more. Why not make your own lava lamp and measure the color of the bubbles, or attach the board to a pendulum to calculate its speed? Only your imagination is the limit.
So if there's still someone who doesn't have the Arduino Science Journal app, go and get it now. There's a lot of fun activities.
Yep.
And related to the Science Journal app, the Arduino Science Kit Physics Lab is now on 20% discount until the end of this week for all of you watching EDUvision.
Nice. So it's time for our second special guest. So we have Engin Bumbacher. Engin holds a PhD in Learning Science and Technology Design. He also has a Master's of Science degree in Neural Systems and Computation and a Bachelor's degree in Physics. And he is currently the Hassel Professor in Digital Education at the Teacher University Vaud in Switzerland, where he also trained future middle school teachers in computer science education, but he also researches novel technology-driven approaches to teaching and evaluates complex competences in K-12 STEM education. So he knows his stuff.
Yes.
Welcome,
Hello.
Engin.
Hello. Hi everyone. Hi Arduino community here.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. And you have a very interesting academic and professional path. And I think many can relate to what you mentioned in the article we have on our website is about how you struggled finding your niche and finding your field, and how many students lack the possibility at school to try different paths and find their own fields without losing all the time doing that. Could you tell us some more about that experience?
About the frustrating part or the solution to it?
Both.
Both? Okay. And for me, like, I loved high school. I loved school. I loved because you sort of could learn every kind of topic. For me, as a student who enjoyed it, was wonderful. But I never was asked the question of, like, what do I want to do later? I never had to think about it outside of this school bubble. I finished high school. I had one information day to sign up and decide what I want to study of all those different fields I liked. I had to commit to something. I just felt like lost all along the way. So in Switzerland, wonderful university, ETH, but you had to commit to one topic, for example. So I started with electrical engineering, didn't like it, then switched to physics. And I ultimately realized it wasn't about the topic so much as how they organized everything. So I started the master's in neuroscience. Then I went to Berkeley, and when I went to Berkeley, I saw for the first time that school can be very different. University can be different. I mean, that's a top university. Not all the schools are like that, but they give a lot of freedom to the students to figure out what they want to do. And that's the first time when I wondered, like, wait, what? Both are universities. Both, you can study physics in one place or the other, but the whole experience is different. Why is school the way it is? And that made me realize, there's a lot of questions around schools to be asked, because there's no ground truth of school. It's a cultural, it's a human-made system. It's engineered in a certain way, and we can make decisions about how we want to make school. And so I became very curious about those decisions behind it, which led me to this path. I mean, I think we will talk later briefly about like the project-based school I was at, and then the PhD at Stanford, and now being at the Teacher University, where we think exactly about how do we integrate CS education into schools without schoolifying it, like without sort of taking away all its powers, but actually as a domain that helps kids learn about the world and about themselves and about what they want to be and what they like.
Ah, that sounds so good. Like I was like reading and I say, I wish I had something like that when I was choosing what I wanted to do. So
I wish I
yeah,
had that.
yeah, right. Like I was reading and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, true. Yeah, I felt that way
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
but then in this search, you ended up working at an education technology startup in San Francisco, interning at Brightworks, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that was, I mean, so I started working, my postdoc, I worked with at Stanford. She started an education technology company where he wanted to do something with artificial intelligence. But meanwhile, this question of like why school is the way it is led me to just connect with a lot of different people in the Bay Area. I just wanted to meet all those people that try new things. Mm-hmm. One of them was, among others, Gabriel Tully from Brightworks, San Francisco Brightworks, which is this private school that I think this was in 2011 or 10 even. And I basically just, I was like, I want to show up. So I showed up and hung out with them for the first 3 months. And as they were conceptualizing and starting the school and getting it ready for the first year, it was an empty factory hall. It was just ideas. But it was wonderful as an experience to see that there's people thinking from the ground up how school could be differently and doing it, like taking that giant risk. I then started my PhD at Stanford, but I was able to sort of accompany a bit and see what they were doing. And in the first year, the kids, they were building with the teachers and then the facilitators there, they were building the school literally, like in that empty factory hall. What is important, what they do is they say, we don't have topics, we don't have classes, but we have bands of students, we group them, and we have arcs, story arcs that consist of 3 parts. Like we have a theme, could be water, could be wind, could be, I don't know, stones. And they have 3 weeks of exploration where they learn about it in the community, then 3 weeks of project building, could be physical projects, could be art, could be historical projects, whatever it is, and then presentation, exposition, reflection on it. So that's like basically how they organize their whole arc, their whole school year. They have like 9 of those. And then by the end of the whole school career, you can imagine those kids will have made 50 plus projects. Wow. Whereas a lot of kids in conventional school will have made what? 3 projects if it goes well.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. All these projects, how did you get into using electronics and Arduino products, and what's your favorite thing about using electronics in different projects?
What I love about electronics is that, and especially Arduino boards or like microcontrollers like that, is that they sit at the interface between analog and digital world. They're this connecting piece. I got to learn about them at a class at Stanford where we used makerspaces that had tools such as the Arduino board in it to design learning technologies. I designed, for example, an interactive music table where you can like play music and with like blocks that you place on the table in a certain way. Other people build science apps. Other people build interactive storytelling applications. They involved cameras, they involved Arduino boards, they involved Raspberry Pis. I ended up like co-teaching this class that Paulo Blickstein, my professor at the time, he's now at Columbia University, it's just college, that we just co-taught. And so we used these spaces to have people come in who wanted to build learning technologies, and we taught them the learning theories and then those tools. And they built their projects with a wonderful range of different projects.
Yeah, so like we have here some projects that like you're talking about, right?
Yes. Those are those are science projects. The idea here is that we call them bifocal modeling projects. That's a concept developed by my PhD advisor. The idea is that you can run real physical experiments. You use electronics with sensors to measure something about those experiments. I mean, for example, Alison showed you could approximate heart rate by measuring sounds, and you record that. And then you connect that to a computer model that models this phenomenon that is real, and you start comparing the model and the real data. The model data looks smooth, looks perfect. The real data looks noisy and jaggedy. And you have to start thinking, well, what is the signal? What is the noise? What aspect of the model does capture the real thing? What aspect of the real thing is not being captured? How can I measure that and bring it into the same space? So many interesting questions that are rich to be answered. So we have like diffusion experiments there. We have oscillation experiments. People build stuff with bacterial growth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, yeah, you have a lot of projects here. Very, very interesting, all this reflection part. Ask yourself questions, how I can measure this, but then how can I do this? So I really like that educational approach.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
I mean, we think these are examples of remote microscopes that, so these were remote microscopes that colleagues at Stanford built in the engineering department, Ingmar Riedel-Kruse, and we worked with them. They have these microscopes that are controlled remotely and have a webcam connected to them. So you can run real physical experiments on these microorganisms, interact with them through some LEDs that are arranged around. I'm sorry, they used Raspberry Pis at that time, but I'm sure you could do that also with Arduino boards, just saying. But then you can connect that, and so you digitize analog data and make it available remotely. And now that's digital, what I built on top of that is an interface that allows you to model those phenomena. And then you do the same thing. Model data, real data, you start evaluating, is my computation model good? Is it not good? Why is your model better than my model? And suddenly kids engage in argumentation. They have to use evidence to convince each other of which model is better than the other one, why, and so forth.
Yeah.
I get excited. I can't stop talking about these topics. So you have to stop me.
Yeah, I know. It's really interesting how you can use this kind of experiments to learn, right? You can never think at first, I can use this to teach and also to learn. It's very interesting, this microscope example. And what Arduino projects do you have planned for the future? What are you working on right now?
So right now, we have two things. So at the Teaching University, we're thinking, what happens when you bring makerspaces into the teaching education? So I work with two faculty in physics and biology, and we have a new makerspace here. And what they're doing is bringing the physics and biology teachers in, and the makerspace will have also Arduino boards. And what we do is we say what artifacts could we build that they could then teach concepts with in science that they like, that are crossing physics and biology. So we'll see what that will give. And then the other one is, because I think so much learning happens when you start questioning, when you start opening, when you don't give answers, but you give questions and students have to figure out how to answer those. I think this is such a powerful approach. And what I'm trying to do now is to use data as a vehicle to do that in non-computer science classes. Could be French, could be geography, could be history classes. And science, Arduino, the Science Journal app will be very powerful there. So also in the science classes, where we want to have kids use the Science Journal app or similar kind of situations to datafy whatever science teachers want to teach, and then see how far kids go with that. I'm very excited about that. So it's like data-driven storytelling. That's the core idea.
Sounds very interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we would love to see what you're doing next. So we will talk on next season then, and you can show everything you have been working on.
It gives me a good deadline to work for.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Deadline next September.
We give you 4 months.
Exactly.
Deal.
You have 4 months to do something.
Good. Sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks, Engin, so much for your time and for joining, for sharing. It's very interesting what you have been working with. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for doing that. It's exciting to see the community come together like that.
No, thank you for joining,
Thank
and
you.
see you in September.
Yeah.
See you in September with the project.
Bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye, Melissa and Roxana.
Thank you. Bye.
And if you want to read more about Engin, you can find the article from our website, arduino.cc/education/EDUvision.
Exactly. And today we say that we are celebrating Children's Day, which is about sharing our children, spend time with them, start new traditions, teach them something new. So what a better way to combine fun and education, and also with science, as we just saw. But if you need some inspiration, you can take a look at our article.
Yes.
Exactly, that one.
So as we mentioned already before, you can find different articles from here. So you can find articles about our guest, But also we have a Children's Day Science Activities article, and here's some ideas and inspiration for what you could do with your children at home or
Exactly.
at school.
Yeah, very easy activities. So it would be nice if you try them out and let us know
Yes.
what it.
And
Great.
all of you who want to experiment more with Arduino Science Journal app, you can also find more about it here on our solutions, middle school, and then you can find it. It doesn't mean that it's for middle school only. Whoever can, of course, use it.
Exactly.
And everyone who's interested, we have now released Arduino Science Journal and Google Drive integration. So all the students and teachers, they can now sync their Arduino Science Journal experience with Google Drive. And this means that you
Nice.
can now access your experiments from any device using your Arduino account and the brand new Google Drive integration. And of course, you can benefit from this integration. Simply sign in with your Arduino account, authenticate Google Drive using your Google account, and select the folder when you want to back up your experiments. And all of your experiments, they will be there accessible from all your devices from wherever you log in.
Nice. Very useful.
You can, definitely, and you can find more about Science Journal from our education site, but also from our blog.arduino.cc, where we tell about this new release.
Exactly. Very nice. And,
Yes, and
that's-
remember that the Science Kit is on discount until Sunday, minus 20%. All of you who want to get started with your science experiments.
Yeah. And that's it for today. It went so
Yes.
fast. Very interesting.
Yes, a lot
Thank
of
you.
things.
Yes, thank you to our guest. It was really interesting. And join us next Thursday, the 10th.
Yes,
Same time.
next Thursday.
Yeah. We celebrate Father's Day with a little bit more of science experiments that you can do with your family at home. And we have a very special guest, which is...
Yes, it's our very own Fabio Violante, the CEO of Arduino, and of course his daughter Julia.
Yeah,
So see you then and prepare with questions.
exactly. Adios.
Bye.